Good evening, everybody. I think we are about to start our webinar, Ripples of Peace, Water's Role in Fostering Peace and Cooperation in the Middle East. And without any further ado, I'd like to hand over to Rowan Pollivin, South African Zionist Federation National Chairman.
Thank you very much. A very warm welcome to everyone this evening, and a very special warm welcome to our esteemed guests from Israel. And we are very excited to have them. I wish to thank, on behalf of the South African Zionist Federation, Keren Kayemet Israel and the Jewish National Fund South Africa for their assistance, funding, and efforts in bringing this esteemed panel to South Africa, and also acknowledge the incredible work of the South African Zionist Federation and the Israeli Embassy in South Africa for all their work on the ground. So I invite you to sit back and relax and listen to this fascinating discussion, which I hope we can learn from and engage with and bring some kind of thoughts and discussion to the South African context. And I'm going to hand you over to Michael Kransdorff to introduce the speakers.
Thanks, Rowan. I'd now like to hand over to our moderator for the evening. I beg your pardon. I'd like now to hand over to Michael Kransdorff, National Chairman of the JNF, to say a few opening remarks.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us this evening. It's really a great honor to have this such a high-level Israeli delegation visiting South Africa. It's probably the highest level delegation that's of officials from Israel that's come in many years. And we've worked very hard with our partners, Keren Kayemet Israel, and the South African Zionist Federation and the Israeli Embassy to be able to bring such a high-level delegation out to South Africa. And we think that, the JNF has identified water as a very serious problem facing South Africa. 1/3 of our wastewater treatment plants in the country no longer function, which is, as we've seen up in Tshwane recently, has resulted in wastewater, running into our rivers, polluting our rivers, and polluting our drinking water, and ultimately leading to cholera, which has cost numerous people their lives. And we think this is really an area where Israel, which is the world leader in water recycling and water technology, can play a real part in helping ordinary South Africans to overcome the challenges of our failing water infrastructure. And so we're very excited to have this delegation here. It shows the commitment of Israel to continue to build relations with South Africa despite all the political tensions. And we've seen from South Africa the outpouring of people that want to meet the delegation, engage with the delegation across the country is really a good sign that ordinary South Africans can put politics aside and work together for the best interests of both countries. So just a big welcome and thank you to all of our partners for being able to make this dream a reality.
Thank you. And with that, I'd like to hand over to our moderator for the evening, Stephen Grusz, geopolitical analyst.
Thank you very, very much, and good evening, everybody. I'm Stephen Grusz. I wear two hats. I freelance for our South African Jewish Report newspaper, so I'm often looking at international stories for the paper, and I also work at the South African Institute of International Affairs. So It's a great honor to have been asked to moderate this, and it's nice when my two roles can combine. So tonight we're going to be talking about the power of water to create peace, to bring countries together. I mean, the hydropolitics is a very interesting phenomenon to look at. If you look at the war between Iran and Iraq in 1980 to 1988, that was partly over who owned water on the border between those countries. We often hear that in the Arab-Israeli conflict, in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, that water is an issue, and I'm sure our speakers will talk about that. And we've seen recently some big tensions in Africa over the Nile, where Ethiopia has built a massive dam, and Egypt fears that its water will be cut off. And so Israel's actually even been asked to mediate in that dispute. So tonight we're going to be talking about hydropolitics, hydrodiplomacy, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Yonatan Bar Yosef, who is Project Manager, Water Quality Management and Ecology at the Jewish National Fund, the Keren Kayemet LeIsrael. I'll just read you a little bit of his bio. Prior to joining KKL in 2019, Dr. Bar Yosef held positions at Lake Kinneret Water Authority, Dead Sea Nature and Parks Authority, the Israeli Ministry of Energy and Water, and the Ministry of Economy in Israel, and the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Throughout his career, he has worked on ecosystem rehabilitation and management, water pollution detection and treatment, ecological monitoring, and bringing science and technology to the field. He has conducted PhD research, and his work has been featured in various publications. His work at the KKL focuses on eco-hydrological monitoring of temporal ponds, steam restoration, land preservation, and storm water treatment. Dr. Bar Yosef, if you can keep it to 15 minutes, that would be great. Over to you.
Okay, first of all, I will share my screen. Okay, can you see the presentation?
We can. Maybe just open slideshow view so it fills the screen.
So now it's on slideshow view.
Sorry, start slideshow. You can share the
Yeah.
screen again and then just click start slideshow. Yeah, and now in PowerPoint, I don't know what it is in Hebrew, unfortunately, but you can click start slideshow, that'll go full screen.
Now you see it full screen. I see it in my computer in full screen.
Okay, not to worry.
Yonatan, if I may help you, stop sharing and share again the presentation, not the PowerPoint, the presentation itself.
Okay. Now it's okay.
There we go. Lovely. Thank you.
Okay. First of all, I'm very honored to be here in this webinar, talk to you and bring a few notes on KKL and our projects in the field of water and generally speaking in Africa. Okay, we begin. Okay, very short introduction. KKL founded in 1901, owns about 11% of Israel's land, promotes forestation, agriculture, water reservoirs, renewable energy, science, nature conservation, education, as you have seen in the short video, and also cooperation with the UN. Few examples of the forestry you can see here in the desert, semi-desert area in Israel. There's a very high pressure of desertification because of excess grazing and because of the climate crisis, less rain, higher temperatures. So we have to conserve the soil from running off in the watershed. One of the great projects is it's like a runoff retain in the watershed. And you can see also a typical forest that has many uses, many land uses, grazing, recreation, and also growing trees. In the water and agriculture field, Kakal built over 230 reservoirs for wastewater, treated wastewater. Hezi will talk about it, Hezkel will talk about it later, cooperating with the water authority. Also conserving flood waters from streams. And this project, this huge project, helps bringing agriculture all over the country, also in the real desert in the south, in the Negev. It brings the cheap and available water to the farmers. And as you can see, it can release the usage of natural waters and desalination for drinking. Also in the field of stormwater, you can see in this photo kind of a biofilter, collecting stormwater from urban areas and entering the water, passing through a biofilter constructed from shrubs and gravel and entering the aquifer. Okay, as I said, building of reservoirs and combining it with renewable energy. You can see here floating photovoltaic panels and reservoirs in the Golan Heights and all over the country. And the meaning of adaptation to the climate change. We support research and development, fire detection, all kinds of new technologies. And we deal with stream rehabilitation after rehabilitation of the water quality. You have to rehabilitate also the land and the stream and vegetation and everything. We're promoting also projects of agrovoltaic use. It's dual usage of land, building photovoltaic panels over vineyards. Okay, I'll skip this. Okay, so let's focus on the project in Africa. I'm going to speak more about the project in Kenya, in Turkana region. It's called Furrows in the Desert. It focuses on watershed management, forestation, and agriculture. Also planting of a new forest in Kenya called the Zion Forest. In Chad, we're talking about a new agreement, MOU, signed recently. Not really in the field yet, but I will elaborate about it a little. And also, if we have time, on the project, small project in Ethiopia. Okay, Furrows in the Desert. It's about the watershed management. As you've seen already in the Negev in the previous slide, in semi-arid landscapes, there is a focus on land preservation, soil preservation, because there's a very high pressure of grazing and not a lot of, let's say, very few rain, about 200 and maybe 200 millimeters a year in semi-arid areas. And people don't have land for agriculture because all the land is very poor and degraded. And especially in Turkana, there's why did we choose Turkana? First of all, it's a similar climate to the Negev. It's like a desert, or let's say semi-arid area. They're having a very long period, a few years of increased drought. Overuse of resources, as I said, a very high pressure of grazing. You can see millions of herds of goats all over the land, and almost no tree, no shrub, anything. That brings to increase the desertification and soil erosion. Also, they're actually physically cutting trees because for use of for cooking, for building, for fencing. And if we're talking about geopolitical issues, so poverty, immigration, etc. So this is the area, Turkana, in northern Kenya. First of all, it's very important to say that this project is led by the Arava Institute in the desert in Israel, and Kakal joined this project because there was a need to the expertise of Kakal, and we joined it after it began by the Arava Institution. So, what were the challenges? Saline clay soil, alkaline water, and let's say soil erosion, generally speaking. So the solutions were to break up the clay soil by using compost. Our experts were teaching them how to make compost and to return nutrients to the soil, to delay runoff flow by building kinds of constructions named shichs or limans, and you will see the pictures. It's like channels or small channels or trenches, and control of grazing. So this is our first delegation to Turkana in May 19. Silvopastoral systems. This is the main goal of the project. It combines trees, also pasture for grazing, and conserving the land in order to be able to grow also agriculture. So actually, this is the agro-silvopastoral system. Three uses in the same triple use of the land. So this is how it looks now. You see very dry land, almost no green, no vegetation. You can see a lot of grazing. It's also important to say that there's a Christian mission there, Spanish mission, that is very helpful and coordinating everything. FID stands for Forest in the Desert. This is the farm that Arava Institution built there, and this is the area. The red square is the area where our experts are working on soil conservation. So this is our delegation, representatives from the southern region of Kakal in Israel, making a tour. This is how it looks. How it was. It looks looked in 2019. You can see the lower picture is a picture of the farm that during the 5 years before the Arava Institute built there, teaching the farmers how to grow vegetables, because they're all shepherds, and now they have to learn how to grow vegetables and change their economy, their way of living. So our experts teach them how to build fences, not from wood, and started a nursery for plants, for trees, and actually working in the field, digging the trenches, the tunnels that I was talking about before, measuring and digging with the local community. This is the nursery that was planned and built in the field. This is how the landscape looks after digging and applying the soil conservation techniques. You can see visually the water is held in the trenches. This picture is a picture of the success, because you can see the water actually stored and stopped, and not running down to the stream that you see below, and nourishing and actually nourishing and enriching the soil. So this is how it looks like from a closer view. You can see the trenches full of water, and you can see the signs of the trees that were planted there. And after a year, you can see already the trees flourishing, growing in the trenches, the nursery. And this is how you can see very nicely on this slide how it was looking in September 2019, and how it looked 2 years later. More green, more trees, and the biodiversity is much higher and bigger. So increased water utilization, we saw it actually. Prevents land degradation, soil erosion, prevents flash floods because there's retention of the water. It brings a richer soil, plants and water, vegetation and water. Increased skill capabilities, that for people that were sheep herds, and now they are that were shepherds, and now they can grow their own food. Tree nursery, okay, and choosing the appropriate trees for the specific area, not bringing invasive species or anything like that, but using the local vegetation, the local flora, shade and grass, very important in this arid area, and improve the agricultural crops. And finally, food security, as I said before. How much time do I have?
If you can start wrapping up, I'll give you 2 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes. So I won't show the film. Also, I will talk briefly on the project in Chad. Okay. You can see the information here. About 15 million of population, deteriorating water situation. 90% of the lakes are drying out, and shortage of crops and pasture for the cattle and for the sheep. Okay, so the MOU has been signed last year to share knowledge in the fields of sustainable agriculture, forestry, and water resources management. There was a visit by experts from KKL last year, and they decided to focus on few fields, few issues. First of all, assistance to the farmers, pumping and irrigation, let's say solar pumps and irrigation, drip irrigation, choosing the right seed varieties and quality, pest control, and agricultural training by Israeli experts from the Ministry of Agriculture. training to improve date production, because this is the main product of the agriculture in Chad. They needed help in improving and introducing new species and maybe better species that we have here. Restoration of areas under desertification, as the same as the project in Turkana in Kenya. It's a similar idea there. And building, managing, and monitoring of the water and reservoirs. And the last one is design forest in Kenya, planting of a forest and rehabilitation of degraded soil, using better treatment of water sources and using it in deforestation, harvesting of runoff water, as you've seen before, and plantation and nurseries. This is how the area of the Zion forest looks like now, and hopefully they want to plant more trees and utilize the water resources that they have there, and soil preservation. And that's it for now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's amazing to me how Israel took one of the biggest threats to its existence, the fact that it's a dry country, and turned itself into the world experts on water. So thank you for the presentation.
You know how they say, the mother of innovation is the need is the mother of innovation.
Exactly. But it's really amazing, and the work that you're doing in Africa is outstanding, and we look forward to many more such projects, and especially in South Africa. Our next speaker is Eyal Harel. He is the CEO of Blue Green Water Technologies, a global water tech company whose mission is to restore, safeguard, and optimize the health of water bodies worldwide. Eyal's team of environmental scientists deploys cutting-edge technologies on every continent using satellites, artificial intelligence mapping, deep learning analysis, and drones to pinpoint, track, remediate, and prevent toxic algae blooms, while scrubbing millions of tons of CO2 from the atmosphere. Eyal is an entrepreneur, a lawyer, and investor. He has had almost 2 decades of experience in technology development, transfer transactions, and global multicultural negotiations. Eyal, looking forward to hearing from you.
It's a pleasure. Unfortunately, I'm unable to turn on my camera or share. I think you'll have to allow me.
There you go, Eyal. You should have both permissions now.
Yes, thank you. I'll just share my presentation. One moment, please. All right, can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can see it.
Is it on?
Yes.
No, we don't see the presentation.
You don't see the presentation?
No. The same problem as I had.
I think maybe something to do with the link. We'll try to reconnect.
Unshare and then share again.
All right.
There we go.
Is it up?
It's going to come now. Yes.
Is it working?
We're still seeing presenter view, Eyal, but I think let's continue. It's all good. We can see well enough.
You're seeing the wrong screen, you mean?
I'm
okay.
seeing this slide and the next one, but it's all fine. We can see quite well. So I think let's keep going.
I wanted to surprise you with the next slide. All right. Okay, so hi everybody. My name is Eyal Harel. I'm the CEO of Blue Green Water Technologies, and thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. Blue Green Water Technologies was incorporated with an aim to remediate harmful algal blooms. It's basically a water disease, a severe disturbance in biodiversity where a single microorganism is taking over the entire ecological niche, turning ultimately water bodies all over the world into dead aquatic zone. It's a global catastrophe covering 60 million lakes around the world, 30 million square kilometers of ocean. And needless to say, underprivileged communities are hurt most, including, of course, in South Africa. So I would like to start by sharing our story of one of the remediation projects we did in South Africa. And that is the cleanup of Setumo Dam, which is on the border of Botswana, close to the city Mahikeng, the capital of Northwest Province. We came to Setumo Dam in June of 2021. What we do, we have a few layers of innovation that includes novel formulations and analytical capabilities that allow us to monitor and remote sense biological conditions in water from satellite. And by doing so, we're able to surgically trigger a biological chain reaction within the toxic communities in the water that is causing them to collapse and go through a PCB-like process, which is in a way a collective suicide. It's pretty fast. It takes hours to happen, and as a result, what would happen is native beneficial non-toxic species will take over the ecological niche and recreate biodiversity in the water. And based on that, you'll start seeing the entire ecosystem rehabilitate itself. In the context of that process, we're also able to remove a lot of carbon that is caught within those microalgae that you're seeing there, but I'll touch that in just a moment. Back to Setumo, we came to the lake. It was June of 2021. And the way the lake is looking on the left, this is all the green that you're seeing is bacteria with the naked eye. Visibility into the water is 0. You can see, or I'm not sure if you can see my pointer, the tower over there is where they are pumping drinking water from this lake that serve the 500,000 people of Mahikeng and the surroundings. And from the other side, there is raw sewage that is pumped into the water. So the quality of the water is absolutely horrendous. The drinking water facility is collapsing under the amount of biomass, and they're not even checking for toxins in the water because they don't want to know. We touched the lake in the beginning of June of 2021. You can see the result on the right-hand side. Actually, at the bottom of the right-hand side, you can see sedimented microalgae 7 meters below. So conditions in the water dramatically improved. And what you're seeing on the left in the video is basically the treatment that we did. The whole operation was localized. We have local manufacturing facility based in Johannesburg. Our partners over there is a big corporation, local corporation, AECI. And the whole operation was done with the help of locals. We were just there to advise. Interestingly enough, and this is brand new information, every time I show this slide, people ask me, okay, so how long did this thing last? And I would say this lasted 3 to 4 months, because after 3 to 4 months, we saw that the bloom was starting to reestablish itself. Again, remember, this lake is being contaminated systematically all the time. And so it did make sense that the water would start regressing within a couple of months. And at that point, we kind of left it and moved on with the rest of our business, because this treatment was done pro bono and we couldn't stay there to continue any maintenance activity. We couldn't find the model to do it. With the carbon angle, and I don't want to go too much into that, we are now able to provide free assistance to underprivileged communities, such as in Setumo Dam, where we can clean up the lake at no cost to the local community and get sponsored through the sale of carbon credits. Since this is a relatively recent development, we decided we'll go back to Setumo and clean it up again. So we went back to Setumo and we wanted to see what's the situation. We were expecting to see what you're seeing on the left. And there lies a surprise. And I'm going to stop for a second and take you to a small trip in history. So I'm going to share with you now the situation in Setumo Dam in May of 2017. This is a regular snapshot from a satellite. You're seeing the entire dam. All the green is bacteria that you can see with the naked eye. So I understand that it's pretty sick already then in May 2017. And because it's a bacterial infection and because it's left untreated, it's going to get worse. That's the case all over the world, everywhere, in many other lakes around South Africa. So surely enough, a year later, this is May 2018, it's getting worse. And this is May 2019, it's still getting worse. May 2020, it's even getting worse. May 2021, it's a total catastrophe. This is how we get the lake in June 21 when we come to treat the lake. And then we treated it. You saw the before and after. And again, like I said before, 3-4 months later, it's starting to get worse. But now we're looking year by year, not months by months. So this is a year later. This is May 2022. And you can see there is still bacteria in the water, but it's like 6-7 years backwards. We didn't touch it since June 2021. This is the lake today. It's pretty much clear, and we didn't do anything. This is basically kicking nature in the right direction and letting it do all the rest by itself. This is biodiversity reintroduced 101. This is what biodiversity does. Biodiversity is key to everything in nature. Biodiversity is the natural immune system of natural habitats, and this is exactly what happened here. We were expecting to see a totally regressed lake, and we found this 2 years later in a very good shape. And we sent some people to take some pictures because we couldn't believe to our own eyes. We've done projects that lasted longer, but nothing as bad and as systemically continuing still now today to be contaminated. On the left, you see how we got the lake when we first got there. And on the right 3 images, you can see what the lake looks today. The water is clean. This is really unprecedented. And to us, it's a very, very exciting finding. And we're very happy that the results are lasting as long as they did. Now, I would like to share with you a short video just to show you the full impact of what we did there on the local community.
Setumo Dam was bad before.
Oh, my brother, it was a disaster. When you came here, you'd find dead fish to start with. A lot of dead fish. It would smell rotten, like you didn't even come and chill here because it was not clean.
To enter this water with that chemical, you see my skin here. Yeah, it used to change. You have to put Vaseline first before you get inside the water. Because once you get inside the water without the Vaseline, the skin, it will change.
The water was stinking. We couldn't even drink the water. So now it's better.
I think it's about 2 to 3 months when these guys, they came with the helicopter, they were spraying. But now you can see now the water is clean and it's fine.
Right now, it's something else. It's much clean, it's much clearer. Even if you can take a look at the water.
And even the chemical, that chemical is disappear. And even now we can fish. And even the smell of that chemical is not there. And now we are fine now. The water is clean, we are happy.
Now with government pretty much failing on all aspects, and we are experiencing also the collapse of infrastructure all over South Africa, it gives us great pleasure to be able to come back after not being able to find a viable commercial solution for ourselves to operate in South Africa and getting paid by the government. And we weren't gonna, I mean, we always wanted to bring our solutions. We operate in Israel and in China and in the United States. And we always wanted to bring our solutions to places where it's most important, again, underprivileged communities. And now with the carbon credit play, we're able to do that. And so we're very excited. We're already planning together with DWS, the Department of Water and Sanitation, our next project, which is going to be in Rode Platem. We're hoping, we're not sure we'll be able to make it, but we're hoping to make it before September of this year, towards the historic event that is planned there, the World Growing Masses Regatta, which is coming for the first time in the history of the continent and South Africa, to Rode Platem, which is heavily contaminated right now. We're hoping we're able to support this activity and allow them to enjoy the game safely. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think everybody is amazed and proud of what Israel and Israeli technology is able to accomplish, and we look forward to the day when this is standard, when South Africa really embraces this. So thank you for the work that you've done.
I have to say, I'm sorry, but in that context, I have to say that we have had a lot of very good support from the South African government and from the local communities. And I know that there are, and we've been told by the local embassy that, you know, there are tensions, political tensions, but one of the things that gives me a lot of courage moving forward is that we got a lot of support from the local government. Everybody wants clean water. And in that sense, the relationships are absolutely amazing.
Fantastic. That's really great to hear. Our final speaker for the evening will be Mr. Yechezkel Lifshitz. He is the Director General and Chairman of the Board of the Government Authority for Water and Sewage of Israel. Nominated by the government to fulfill this position in June 2022 for a 5-year term, Mr. Lifshitz is responsible for the management of Israel's water resources, formulation of water policy, regulation, planning, and development of the water economy. Mr. Lifshitz gained more than 15 years in the public service sector, both in infrastructure and regulation fields, and prior to his current position, he served as the Acting Director General of the Ministry of Water Resources and as Senior Deputy Director General of Infrastructure, Energy and Water in the Ministry of Energy, and also as a board member of the Governmental Authority for Water Sewage. He holds a Master's of Business Administration degree in Finance and a Bachelor of Science degree in Computer Sciences and Business Administration, both from the Hebrew University. Mr. Lifshitz, we look forward to hearing your presentation.
Thank you very much, Stephen. It's a pleasure being here. I'm so happy to see that we have almost 80 participants in this webinar. And for me, it's a pleasure to be here. A few words about my presentation before I start. I would like to give a short overview about the Israeli water sector, the challenges and the achievement that we gained till now in the last few decades, and then speak about the possible cooperation between Israel and our neighbors. I think we are living in a tremendous period. You know, a few years ago, we couldn't have imagined visiting UAE or Bahrain or Oman or other countries in the area. And I hope that in the future, we'll be able to visit also Saudi Arabia and maybe other countries. So I'll jump right into my presentation. I'll share my presentation in a second. Just let me know that you can see it. Yes? Great.
Perfect.
Okay. Great. So I have only 15 minutes, and I think I could have, I can speak hours about the Israeli water sector, but I put here only the main issues or the main points in the Israeli water sector. So, okay. First, let's speak. Where are we? Or how Israel looks like? So you can see Israel is a very small country, about 22,000 square kilometers. If you see the mouse, you can see here, this is the northern part of Israel. Up here we have Lebanon, Syria, Jordan Kingdom. This is Israel, the Kinneret, the Sea of Galilee, the Dead Sea, and here we have Egypt. So actually this is of course, this is the Mediterranean. So Israel is very small country. What you can see from this picture is that our rainy part of the country is up in the north part of Israel. We have about 1,000 millimeters of rain every year. But let's say half of the country, if we took Beersheba, for example, and to the south of Israel, we called it the desert line. Desert line means that we have a little less, 150 millimeters a year of rain every year and less. If we look at Eilat is the southern city of Israel, here in close to Aqaba, we have in average only 20 millimeters of rain every year, in average. In average means that we can have 1 year 0 millimeters, and maybe 2 years after 50 millimeters. But you cannot rely on the rain, of course, because an average is not enough. So this is general overview about Israel. The water use in Israel, most of we have very strong agriculture part, which uses about 50% of the total use of water, and urban and industry uses about 40%. You can see that in the year 2021, the annual consumption for all kinds of water, and it's important to say all kinds of water, and I'll explain in a second, it's about 2.4 billion cubic meters a year. I'm not sure if you use in South Africa, I hope you use cubic meter, because I meet from time to time delegations from all over the world. In the United States, they use gallons and acre-foot, and it took us few hours to translate cubic meters to gallons. So let's stay in cubic meters. 1 cubic meter is 1,000 liters, and we're having forecast 30 and 40 and 50 years ahead. Today, we're planning the desalination market in Israel 30 and 40 years ahead, because in Israel, it's pretty unique for a developed country that we have population growth. If we compare Israel to Western Europe, for example, where the population is declining, in Israel, the population is growing in 1.8% a year. That means that every 35 years, the population actually doubles itself. So currently, if let's say we have 9 million residents in Israel, in 2050, 30 years from now, we're going to have 60 million residents, and a few years later, we have 18 million residents, not including the Palestinian Authority that we supply water, and the Jordan Kingdom that we also supply water to them, and we'll speak about it pretty soon. So the main challenge in Israel now is to have the ability to supply water to all the population 24/7 a year, 24/7, 365 years a year, and of course, supplying water for industry and for the agriculture sector. Now let's speak about a few numbers. You see the very nice pie here that we have. We spoke that I said that we have 2.4 billion cubic meters, which is divided about 50% to agriculture, and to domestic sector and industry, a little less than 1 billion cubic meters a year. And as I said, we supply to the Jordan Kingdom 100 millimeters cubic meter a year, and for the nature, and also to the Palestinian Authority. The sources of this water is potable water, about 40%. The treated sewage is a very important source of water. We'll speak about it in a few slides. And the brackish water is a little less than 20%. Let's speak about the forecast. Israel is located in the Middle East. Middle East is going to suffer probably from the climate change. The forecast, as you can see here, is that we have a decline in the rain, in the possible water that we can have in Israel. We assume now the forecast is that this is the yellow, the orange and the yellow line. The future average is going to decline in about between 15 to 18%. So we'll have more population on the one hand, and less rain in the future. That means that we'll have to find a source for this water because population is growing, needs are growing, standard of living is growing all the time. We need more and more water, but we'll have less and less rain in the coming few decades. What we're doing for that is that we desalinate water. Currently, we have 5 desalination plants. They produce currently 600 million cubic meters a year. If you can see in the picture, we have 5 desalination plants. They appear in gray here, if you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the red spots, what you can see is the coming desalination plants. Currently, we're building 2 new desalination plants. They're going to add another 300 million cubic meters a year. And we are now planning the 8th desalination plant that is going to start working in 2032, approximately, maybe 31. And all of them together, are going to supply about 1.1 billion cubic meters a year. So you can see the forecast for the year 2050 is that we're going to need and have the ability to desalinate a little less than 2 billion cubic meters a year. This is a tremendous number. Of course, it uses a lot of energy. Of course, it's much more expensive than having natural rain. But once you have the needs and you don't have the sources of water, the desalination is mandatory. Another very important source of water in Israel is water reuse. In Israel, we treat the sewage, and we take about 85% of the treated sewage for agriculture. Israel is not well known in the world in this manner. We are number 1 in the world in water reuse, and number 2 after us is Singapore and Spain with a little less than 30%. So 25% Israel, first place. Second place, Singapore and Spain with 30%. We see that more and more countries understand now that treated sewage can be another source of water for agriculture, and it's of course without treating the sewage, without taking the sewage for agriculture, we will not have the possibility to have a strong agricultural sector in Israel. More than that, what the farmers, the agriculture sector is doing for us is they are taking care of the treated sewage. Otherwise, we'll have to take care of the sewage and put it back into the sea or into the lakes, the rivers that we don't have too many in Israel. So actually the farmers, the agriculture sector helps us to avoid pollution in our water sources. About regulation, in Israel, there's one place, one table takes care of all the decisions. I mean tariff, I mean regulation, and other decisions that are made in the water sector. We have one table of 8 members from different ministries. They take all the decisions in the water sector. The Water Authority is a professional body. It's like a ministry, but it's independent and it's professional. And we take the decisions actually without political issues. We see what is the cost of building the desalination plants, building infrastructure, etc. And according to that, we set the tariff. So you can see here we have 5 members from different ministries: Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Interior Affairs, Ministry of Energy, and Ministry of Agriculture, 2 public representatives, and I'm also the chairman of the Water Authority Board. So 8 members set all the regulation for the water sector. It wasn't that until, let's say, 13 years ago, all the water authorities, water issues were divided in different ministries. And it caused that every ministry was looking at his interest. For example, Ministry of Agriculture was looking at the farmers' interest. The Ministry of Finance wanted the tariff to be very low. Ministry of Environment was interested that we will not have any pollution. Once the water authority was built, we have one place that takes care of all the decisions. Actually, the challenges that we're having now is that planning and management results the water tariff. The water tariff in Israel is very unique. We have cost recovery. We don't get subsidies for the government for this manner, and everyone pays for the water usage. We know that other countries, also developed countries, let's say they don't have the let's say in the water domestic sector, they pay a certain amount of money every month, no matter how much water they use. In Israel, every drop of water is measured and paid. This is very, very important. It's pretty unique in Israel. Now, I brought here some very interesting pictures, but very interesting projects, huge projects in Israel. So these 4 pictures are the long and very interesting pipe, or actually water system that brought water to Jerusalem. And this tunnel is about 13 kilometers long. It was digged by TBM, that you can see on the left-hand side of the slide. The cost of this tunnel was about 2.5 billion shekels, which is about 700 million US dollars. And this system brings water to Jerusalem until the year 2060, because we have to plan for decades ahead. These projects are very expensive and not easy to make them happen. And that's why we need to plan decades ahead. So this is one very interesting project. The second one is also very interesting. This project, you can see on the right-hand side, brings water from desalination to the Sea of Galilee. If you can see here on the map, the Sea of Galilee is located here. What we do is we build a pipe that takes water from the Mediterranean, from the Mediterranean in a very long pipe, and we have the ability to pump water that came from desalination to the Sea of Galilee, to the Kinneret. We bring water from to the nature, back to the nature. Why is that? Because we want to make sure that the Kinneret, the Sea of Galilee, will stay a strategic reservoir for us. If we have a few years of drought, one after the other, and the water level in the Sea of Galilee will start going down, will start declining, we'll have the ability to put water back into the Sea of Galilee. As far as I know, this project is unique. No other country in the world brings water from desalination into nature. Now, a few words about the opportunities and what the peace agreements and the Abraham Accord can bring to this area. First, there's a very interesting project called Prosperity Blue, combined with another project called Prosperity Green. This Prosperity Green is a project that brings water produced from solar panels built in Jordan, and Israel will buy this electricity to the Israeli national grid. So electricity will be produced in Jordan, financed by the United Emirates, will transferred to the border. From the border, it will be transferred to the Israeli national grid. So this is called Prosperity Green. Prosperity Blue is another very interesting project. Since the Jordan Kingdom suffers from water scarcity even more than Israel, they need water, of course. The population is also growing in Jordan. That's why came the idea of Prosperity Blue, supplying water that will come from the Sanation to the Jordan border. And this very exciting project hopefully will strengthen the peace agreement and the friendship between Israel and Jordan, buying electricity from one side, selling water on the other hand, and strengthening the friendship between these two countries. In the next slide, you can see myself signing an MOU signed in Morocco in 2021 after the Abraham Accord. Abraham Accord was signed between Israel and a few other countries, Morocco, Bahrain, United Emirates, and we signed an MOU in a cooperation between Israel and Morocco in water issues. And Morocco is a country that has many needs in the water issues. There are some Israeli companies that already work in Morocco, and we would like to bring these options and this friendship to the upper level. So we'll share our knowledge and experience with Morocco that also faces droughts and water scarcity. A few more sentences about the future. You know, living in Israel now is really exciting because there are now things that you could not imagine a few years ago. Who would have imagined that we'll have a peace agreement with Morocco, with Bahrain, with the United Emirates? During the years, there were Israelis that traveled to those countries, but it was always under the radar. Now this friendship is brought into the sunlight, and we think, and I personally think and believe, that finding ways to cooperate between Israel and those countries can help bring this area that suffers from water scarcity and will also suffer from the climate change to a better future, because water is so vital, and without water you cannot live in this hot area. And I think we have tremendous and many opportunities. Let's use them and use them wisely. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, Yechezkel. You know, it's so interesting you're talking about planning 50 years into the future. I think sometimes in South Africa we get the feeling that our government hasn't planned for next week. So it's obviously very important. And I think where you ended is a particular interest of mine. The real benefits of Israel making peace with and normalizing relations with countries in the Middle East is so important. Okay, we don't have too much time for questions, but I'm going to ask them in the order that they came. The first one, I think, is for Dr. Jonathan. What financial help does the Kenyan government provide? Then there's a question for Eyal from Heather Blumenthal to say, do you teach local people how to maintain the water? Then Levon Lupke has asked, how much energy, and I think this is for Yechezkel, how much energy will be needed for these projections that you talked about for the future? And then two more, let me just go to the chat. This one from Dr. Hazel Gaito, the Dead Sea is dying. What is Israel doing to replenish this world wonder? So you talked about the Sea of Galilee. Is there anything being done for the Dead Sea? And then Penny Ayres says, I know the oceans of the world are vast, but if desalination eventually becomes very large scale, could it eventually start depleting the oceans or have an impact on sea life? So there's a few questions for each of you. Let's start with Jonathan. Just remember to unmute yourself.
Yeah, okay. Regarding the project in Kenya, the local government provided all the materials, all the financial support to the project. And of course, they paid for the travel of the experts and all the volunteers. Actually, it's not a very high cost project. You could have seen the low tech of the project. But yes, there was a cooperation from the local government.
Yeah, the question to you was about, thank you. The question to you was about, do you train local people to maintain the water quality after you've done your interventions and used your magic tricks to fix the problem?
It's not magic, it's science. Yeah, we do. We train local teams that work with us in maintaining, identifying issues with water quality. Again, unfortunately, up until now, it was not feasible for us to continuously keep an eye and actively engage with contaminated water bodies. We hope that this is going to change now with the new financial model that we're introducing, and so that we're able to expand on the model and improve water quality across the country.
Thank you. And Yecheskel, there were a couple of questions for you about won't desalination affect the ocean life and the ecology of the sea? What's being done about the Dead Sea, if anything? And also what energy will be needed for all these projections of water supply?
Thank you, Stephen. All the questions are excellent. I must say that I'm asked those questions many times. So I'll start, if it's okay, with the third question about energy. As you mentioned before, I came from the Ministry of Energy, and of course, I was also in charge on the renewable energy and the water and trying to reduce the electricity usage. So in Israel, the water sector uses about 6% of the total consumption. Of course, desalination is much more expensive and uses much more energy than having a natural rain. So this is the effect. But once you have the two options, whether to use more energy and to have maybe to pollute, even maybe saying pollution. Still in Israel, we use about 70% of the electricity is produced by natural gas. But of course, if you have these two options, of course, we'll choose having more water. But still, it's an issue. We're trying to be more and more efficient regarding to energy. If I can give you two numbers. The first desalination plant in Israel was built 2005, and it uses a little more than 3.5 kilowatt hour per cubic meter. The newest desalination plants uses about 3.1 kilowatt hour per cubic meter. So the desalination plants are becoming more and more efficient, and you are trying to reduce all the time the energy consumption in desalination plants, because first it's expensive, and the second, we want to reduce the energy consumption all over the country. A few words about the Dead Sea. I mean, I can speak about each topic, let's say at least one hour. The Dead Sea is a miracle, yes. There are several reasons for the declining of the sea level of the Dead Sea. The few reasons. First, we're taking the natural water. Also in the other side, in Jordan Kingdom, we have one factory in the Jordanian side and one factory in our side. It's called ICL. They evaporate the water, and they produce, I don't know the English word for that. They produce a chemical that we use for agriculture, a very important chemical that helps to bring more crops, which is very, very important. I'm sorry, I don't remember the English word for this chemical. Sorry?
Potash.
Yes. Potash. Yes. So there are a few, and of course this area is very, very hot. There are few ideas how to take care of this problem. There was an idea a few years ago. It was called the Red Dead Canal. It was planned to build a canal that will bring water from the Red Sea into the Dead Sea. By that, to make trying to stop the declining of the level of the Dead Sea. Unfortunately, it was not financial, and it had been stopped. But there are new ideas, maybe the Med Sea Dead Sea Canal, a canal that will take water from the Mediterranean to the Dead Sea, and it will produce electricity also on the way, because the Dead Sea is 400 meters below sea level, so you can produce a lot of energy. There are a few ideas, few options, very expensive, very challenging. We are aware of this problem, and the most brilliant brains in Israel are taking care of this problem. I hope it will be solved. Last question is actually the effect of desalination. In Israel, before building the desalination plant, we make a 1-year survey made by the Ministry of Environment Protection in order to tell us how to get rid of the brine. Every cubic meter they take from the Mediterranean, from the sea, you produce half cubic meter for drinking, half cubic meter is returned back to the sea. And of course, it's more salty because you take all the salt and you put it back into the sea. It's called brine. This brine is put back into the sea. And according to the survey, as I mentioned, made by the Ministry of Environment Protection, we tell the winner in the tender how long the pipe that takes the brine back into the sea, how long should it be? Sometimes it can be 2 kilometers long, because then it takes the brine deep into the sea. And according to our surveys, we have now 5 desalination plants. As I said before, we are building 2 new desalination plants. It had no effect on the fish, on the sea environment, and we tracking this all the time. And I can tell you that it doesn't have any effect on the sea environment until now, almost 20 years after the first desalination plant has been built, and we always take it into account, and it is measured all the time.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you just one last question from Dr. Gaito again. What is being done to solve the water issues in Gaza? I think for you again, Yechezkel, and then I'll hand over to Michael to just wrap up for us. What's being done about water issues in Gaza?
Well, I'll speak about the Palestinian Authority and also the Gaza Strip. Today, and I can tell you from close knowledge, and because I worked in the Ministry of Energy, and the Ministry of Energy, together with the Water Authority, planned a master plan to bring more water to Judah and Samaria and the Palestinian Authority, because a few years ago there was a severe water scarcity in this area. So I was in charge on this project that cost us about 1 billion shekels, which is about 300 million US dollars. And this project is under construction, almost finished. And in the last 4 or 5 years, there are no problems regarding water supply in this area. There are few small spots that have a local problem, and this problem is also taken into account. So today we supply to the Palestinian Authority in Judah, Samaria, in the Gaza Strip, more than what we are obligated to supply according to the peace agreement. One very easy solution is to build a desalination plant in the Gaza Strip. I think that can solve the Gaza Strip problems. Today we supply them about a little more than 20 million cubic meters a year, according to this is what we're obligated according to the peace agreement. And this water, by the way, is supplied also when missiles are shot from Gaza Strip to Israel. It's a little weird, but that's what is done. So there are a few ideas how to solve this problem. It is a problem. The people in Gaza Strip suffer from water scarcity, unfortunately. Few reasons. The first, they didn't manage the aquifer. They had very good aquifer in Gaza Strip. Since it was not managed, there were about 3,000 water drills that had been done in Gaza Strip, and this damaged so much to the aquifer in Gaza Strip, it made it very, very salty. But the solution is to build a desalination plant in Gaza. The problem is that, I don't know if anyone here saw a membrane. Membrane looks like a missile, actually. And we have the fear that this equipment will be used by Hamas that is sitting in Gaza Strip to shoot missiles on Israel. So I know there are discussions between Israel and Palestinian Authority. I personally believe in this solution, and I personally hope that the people in Gaza Strip will have enough water for their needs, and I hope that in the future we'll be able to solve this issue.
Thank you very much. Just before I hand over to Michael, just to say thank you to everybody for listening, and we wish the delegation great success in South Africa. I think there's so much that people here can learn from you, and we wish you all the best for your coming visit. Michael, over to you. Just unmute.
Thanks, everybody, for a fascinating webinar. I think it was just a small taste of the potential of Israeli technology in the water space and what you guys can do to really help us here in South Africa. And we look forward to, over the next week, we're going to have lots of meetings with different stakeholders in different areas of South Africa, in Durban and in Cape Town, as well as Joburg and Pretoria. And we hope that it will be a fruitful week, and we'll learn much more about and more in depth about some of the things we've spoken to about tonight and all that Israel does in the water space. And just to end, to say a big thank you to the team that made this all possible, to Kakal JNF for sponsoring and sourcing these top guys to come to South Africa. A big thank you to them, to the Zionist Federation, the Israeli Embassy, and my team, Bev Schneider and Arla Feldman at the JNF, for all the work that they've done, putting in to make sure that this delegation is a huge success. It's been a real marathon, and thank you all of them for all the work and all the long hours they've put in to make this happen. So we're very excited for the week ahead, and we'll update you all on what's been happening. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook to see where the delegation goes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for KKLN, the Israeli Embassy in South Africa. We'll meet next week.
Great, guys.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Everybody.